The topic of this meeting is very important because according to the United Nations, in 2050, almost 70% of humanity is expected to live in the cities. So the architects and engineers need to think about the new expectations and about the kind of materials we use to construct the buildings of tomorrow. So in the 21st century, we need to reinvent materials and combination of materials, develop new processes, use sustainable materials, and sometimes it involves changing of or adapting all materials to give it new properties to build the cities of tomorrow in the world. So to talk about this today, it's a pleasure to welcome our speakers. And so before we get started, I'd like to introduce Mr. Stalens from ArcelorMittal. So you're head of product and segment sales steering and order entries platform at ArcelorMittal Europe and Flat Products.
Yes.
So you started your career in 1998 at ArcelorMittal Giant plant as managing metallurgical program. In 2001, you moved to the job of technical customer support manager, and you was appointed head of the technical customer team of North Business Division in 2009. And then in 2010, you became sales country head for Benelux, a position you had until July 2018, and you was appointed to this present position. Mr. Nose, your advisor at Sumitomo Forestry, so you have been involved in timber distribution, both domestically and globally for a long time, and in the housing materials and forest management. Currently, you're active in the domestic and overseas towards the development of housing industry, such as chairing the Environmental Committee and the International Exchange Committee of the Japan Federation of Housing Organizations. And Mr. Gaël, so you from Saint-Gobain, you entered at Saint-Gobain in 2006 in the division of innovative materials. You are an expert in building facade. And then since 2014, you started your actual position as a Director General of Europe and Middle East at Saint-Gobain Sage Glass, heading the smart glass business of Saint-Gobain in Europe and Middle East. And also, you member at Saint-Gobain Sage Glass Executive Committee. So I would like to begin the first item with Mr. Stalens. Would you like to introduce this subject? So your firm is innovating in new materials. You transform all materials and uses, which is a very noble material, into a high technical performance. So could you describe your innovation and tell us more about the process you followed to innovate with your company to achieve this project, and also what the different ways to put innovation on the market?
Sure. So first of all, Emily, thank you for also inviting me to this webinar and also to participate to this discussion on innovation, because as you mentioned, in our company, innovation is very important, and especially if you think about a material like steel that is often thought of as I would say old and a simple material, but I can already immediately tell you that 70% of the steels and the steel grades that are available today, they simply did not exist 10 years ago. Yeah? And then I think of our grades like, for instance, Armstrong high strength steels in hot rolled, or our Hyper range in metallic coated, or our High Star beams, which we have really engineered to find the optimal combination of strength, formability, toughness, and so many other aspects to be able to fit perfectly in the process and applications of our customers. And in order to achieve this, this highest level of technical performance, we have set up in our company a well-structured governance, starting with a strong commercial team. And you have already explained it in my introduction. I have been in charge of this team with technical experts that are meeting and discussing on a daily basis with our customers to understand not only their needs of today, but also their needs of tomorrow. And then together with our more than 1,000 researchers that we have in our company, by the way, this also illustrates the importance that we add to innovation. We have more than 1,000 researchers in our company. We translate these customer needs into steel solutions and process optimizations. And we go beyond this as well, because innovation is more than only product and process. In fact, it covers the whole package. So including logistical services, cost optimization, sustainability, and also more and more digitalization. So ArcelorMittal, in fact, we stand for delivering safe, sustainable steel in harmony with the stakeholders. And that's also an aspect that I want to highlight if you speak about innovation. So if we take the example, for instance, of construction, we work very closely together with universities, but also with architects, construction companies, and also with legal bodies of countries or European agencies. And then I already mentioned customers, of course, but also suppliers. And this all to make sure that our solutions are not only fit for purpose, but that they also are in line and even go beyond local standardization and legislation. So a good first example that I can think of is our relative new Magnelis product. Magnelis is a metallic coated product, coated with a zinc and aluminium magnesium coating that resists in the most harsh environments against corrosion, and that we have now DIBT certified in Germany with lifetimes of 50 years or more. And finally, I would like to say on this governance, we have then also quite recently installed a new business division in our company called Stelligence, that is in fact there to bring all the product solutions of our different divisions together, flat and long, at the desk of investors, architects, engineering officers, construction companies, when discussing on a particular building project.
Okay. So thank you, Mr. Stellan. This is very impressive how it's now possible to innovate on material, on the null materials used since Hendrik times, but it totally fits with the new technologies developed in the wood industry. So, Mr. Nosé, what are the recent innovations on wood as a material, and what is the purpose of this development?
Thank you very much. It's good. I am happy to have such a kind of good chance for. Thank you very much, Emily, and thank you very much, Christine, and thank you very much, Oliver. First of all, as I would like to introduce from our company and our project of this kind of wooden project. It's a new innovation of the project. So first of all, all the attached data together with that, I will introduce. Okay. Yes, our company is started in 1691. That's a very old company. Originally, it began from forest management for copper mining in Shikoku Island in Japan. Our company has made forestry business in foundation and has developed timber distribution, manufacturing, building materials, and detached houses business. In a sense, we have grown and developed total housing and living-related business globally. Our main domestic business have been based on the wooden houses, which also function as a timber demand. But the market is shrinking due to the demographic change. Mid-rise and high-rise wooden buildings are paid attention in Japan, but they also have issues such as fire resistance of wood. On the other hand, Japan is a leading nation for forest globally. However, national resources are not sufficiently used. Self-sufficiency rate is just about 35%. The Japanese cedars and cypress planted after the World War II and now reaching harvest. But because of small amount of the harvest from Japanese mountains, the devastation of mountain is in a repeating cycle. Therefore, it is now important for Japan to use its wood that is ripe for harvest.
Okay.
In such a background, we set the 350 plan in February 2018. The 350 plan is a concept to realize 350-meter tall wooden high-rise building in 2041, which will be our 350th anniversary. In our estimation, we will use 185,000 cubic meter of wood for the structure of this one skyscraper. Then we can
we can't hear you now. I think there's a problem of connection.
Please for
okay, it's okay.
Okay, for maintenance after being used in fixed intervals. It will be replaced and reused as pillars or beams for houses, and after that, made into wood building materials, promoting circulation into the city. We developed not only technology to build wooden skyscraper, but also establishing fire-resistant components, breeding stronger trees with gene-selective techniques, quantifying the effect of wood and green to human being, and so on. We keep going on the research and development to enhance the value of wood for a sustainable future. We just complete a new wooden building in our institute last October. This new research building is the foundation of 350 plan. We use a lot of state-of-the-art technology toward 350 plan, such as the post-tensioning wooden structure, energy-saving features with passive design, innovate, green space, and facade, and exposed wooden structure for the rich interior. Nowadays, the large-scale disaster by the climate change and frequent in the world. Furthermore, we cannot measure the influence of COVID-19 expansion. In this situation, we strive to bring about innovation that encourage a sustainable cycle for timber utilization and forestry management, and realize environmentally friendly and timber utilizing cities where people, tree, and diverse creatures can coexist so as to achieve our corporate mission. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. I wanted to know what are the different functions with a building W350? What are the different functions? Is it for firms or for residents or for commercial? Is it a multi building?
Yeah, that is a residential and office, and yeah, for the hotel or very tall building. That's why there's a mix up of that is usage.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think this also links up with innovation on glass, which is also a noble material and often reinvented. So, Mr. Guy, would you like to explain us the innovation with Saint-Gobain Sage Glass?
Certainly. First, thank you, Emily, for having me today, and it's an honor to be alongside Bart and Hideki to share our innovation approach at Saint-Gobain Sage Glass. And I'm connecting today from Lausanne, which is where I live, and I'm actually in my at the moment. And this is why you see a poster that might seem strange in an office. So there is no particular partnership between Marilyn Monroe and Saint-Gobain, but I like to take my my breakfast with Marilyn Monroe. So anyway, yeah, we have started an incredible journey with Saint-Gobain Sage Glass. This innovation is goes back actually many years ago, and the idea is extremely simple. In the history of habitat and construction, the invention of glass and the use of glass has made an enormous change, because glass is what connects the inside to the outside, bringing natural daylight in, and it's become more and more popular, to the point that we are now building with completely glazed facades. And that is something relatively new. And with that trend come a lot of challenges, because glass lets light and heat in. So as soon as you use large amounts of glass, you have to control the amount of light and heat that comes into the building. And you have to manage the drawbacks of having so much glass in buildings. The key thing is that glass, you would like the glass to be darker when there is more light outside, and you would like glass to let the heat come in when it's winter time, so that you can save on energy. And the way to do that is basically to invent some sort of sunglasses for the building, some sort of glass that would tint itself depending on the conditions outside. And this is what Sage Glass is. Sage Glass is a sunglass solution for buildings. So it's a completely new concept of building facades, whereby the shading and the management of light and incoming heat is made by the glass itself.
Okay, so thank you. What led you to innovate on this? Was it an expectation, a special expectation of your clients? What was the process of innovation to put it?
Absolutely. Yeah, great question. Thank you, Emily. Actually, we've seen that when designing buildings, architects are trying to hit the balance between summer comfort and winter comfort. If you have a glass with certain characteristics, it's quite difficult to make it suitable for the whole year. So this is the starting point. The idea is that the weather is changing. The expectations of people inside the building are changing along the year. So we'd like glass to be adapting itself to what is required in the building. So this is the starting point. As an innovation process, a big challenge has been that this technology is some sort of a semiconductor technology applied to construction materials. And making it industrial and suitable for the building industry has been an enormous challenge that took years of research and development. And I think what you are doing, Emily, trying to let us explain how we innovate in the building industry is very important, because the building industry needs a lot of innovation, has got a lot of innovation, but it's also an extremely conservative market. So we're not in the tech industry where you get a new product, a new solution every year or every 6 months. The process of innovating in the construction industry is very challenging, and I think it's a fantastic support to share the experiences of how we make it happen in so diverse industries as steel, wood, glass. So thank you for that initiative.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think that covers the first item. Now I would like to speak about the impact, the sustainable aspect. And we'd like to know how your innovation could be a key element to be considered now and in the future for issues related to carbon, to energy efficiency, renewable resources, and also quality of life in big cities. Mr. Salens, what could you say about this point, about reducing emissions of carbon, of the environmental impact?
Well, it's of course a very important topic, and also at ArcelorMittal we take climate change as a prominent challenge, where we are working on CO2 reduction of our footprint at many levels. So at ArcelorMittal Europe, we recently published our European carbon report, which has then set out also our roadmap to reduce our CO2 emissions by 30% in 2030 and to be carbon neutral by 2050 in Europe. And it's clear that for this we have to develop, and we are developing many innovative technologies. Like, for example, just to quote some examples, we have a very interesting steel project in Ghent, where I am based, where CO gas is transformed in bioethanol through a gas fermentation process. That is just one example. Another example is our Torero project, where waste wood, so we are here in wood, but wood can also be recycled in this project and be used as a biofuel for our blast furnace process. We have also projects that are looking at hydrogen use for direct reduced iron, for instance, where we have some pilot in Hamburg and many others. But besides the process, and you explained, I am the head of ArcelorMittal Europe flat product strategies for industry applications. I also focus a lot on how we can contribute already with our products and solutions towards a greener planet. And in fact, to do this, my motto is quite simple. It's lighter, stronger, longer. So lighter steel solutions, higher strength steels, and also longer lifetimes. And we have developed already many examples that exist already now today, because processes like I just described, they are under development. We work on a lot, but not everything is already there today. So many examples we have already today in products like, again, I can take the product Magnelis that I just mentioned, that this new zinc, aluminum, magnesium metallic coating that allows to have at least the same performance against corrosion with only half of the coating thickness. So this means preserving metal resources and also less zinc runoff into the soil, also less maintenance, etc. And on the other side, if you would use then the same coating thickness with Magnelis than the alternative product, you have a much longer lifetime. So you can use it in both directions. Other examples are, for instance, in our pre-painted products, we have developed a greener paint called Aesthetic Bio Air with bio-sourced resins in the paint layer to improve the quality of air indoors. So these are typically paints that are used for applications indoors. And of course, we are developing stronger, I already mentioned it, we are developing stronger steels like our Hyper and Armstrong range or our High Star beams in the long products. just to be able to make the same application with less steel. So less steel is also meaning less CO2, and this can also contribute to building higher buildings, because if you have lighter structures, you can build higher. So, and finally, where we also are focusing on is the possibility and the ability to use our products in renewable energy production. And we have excellent examples, like again, our Magnelis, that we are supplying a lot to solar structure manufacturers, so for solar parks, and also our heavy plates that are used for wind masts. And both solutions, renewable energy solutions, we are also installing in our own plants to make the electricity that we are consuming more green. So I heard you also, Emily, asking a question about quality of life. I like a lot that question, because often, as I already mentioned, steel in the public opinion is not so widely known for what use it is utilized. But I just can say this, can you imagine a road without safety barriers or without the lighting poles to light at night? Can you imagine that you take the car without the safety belt that is protecting you and your children in the car? Can you imagine a house without the radiator to warm you in the winter? Can you imagine, as ladies, your shoes without the steel protection in the heels to avoid that the heel is breaking? Can you imagine to live without the chain of your bicycle? Can you imagine not sticking your shopping list with a magnet on the door of your fridge? So I'm just citing these examples to say that life would simply not be what it is today without all our steel innovations. And that is why I really say, and I mean it, that steel is a fabric of life. You cannot imagine modern life without steel.
Okay, yes, and regarding to the construction industry, so what would be the benefits of using steel, during the construction, the impact?
Well, like I already mentioned, with our steel solutions, and notably also the high-strength steel solutions, we are able to offer a building solution that is lighter. And in general, steel structures are lighter than the conventional building in concrete. So this allows to save costs, for instance, on the foundations. It also allows to construct higher buildings. And with several of our solutions, like again, the Magnelis, we have also developed a solution where you can add, for instance, one floor on an existing building. So if you see an existing building, it has a certain foundation. If you want to add a floor, especially if you think about the bigger cities that we get, the less space available, etc., this becomes more and more important. So steel can be a solution. So what I also want to say here is that, and it's also a message to all designers that could be listening to this webinar. So often designers are thinking about steel when the project is already more or less drawn. And then they design the building with concrete. And at a later stage, they think perhaps we could substitute some parts in steel. Sometimes it works. But very often they are then told that the steel solution is too expensive. But the reality is that when steel is taken into consideration from the early beginning, and when it is intelligently combined with other materials, the final cost of the building for investors can be up to 15% cheaper than the usual concrete alternative. So to achieve this, of course, the right choices need to be done at early stage in order to fully leverage the potential of steel. And again, that is why we have also now installed our Stelligent steel with Olivier Vassard as CEO of this company, to support and to sit at the table of designers and to support them and really to help them to design the optimal solution for their building project.
Okay, thank you. I would like to talk about the positive impact also of wood. It's obviously known as an important key element in carbon capture. And so, Mr. Noze, could you tell us more about the benefits of wood during life of trees and with stored carbon in wood?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that is, as I told you, that before, that is a 335 plan that is wooden of the tall building. That in Japan, that is now, before that, I would like to talk about the Japanese forest and the situation of our main business is of the detached house. And that's the most of them is a wooden house. And Japanese is population decreasing and decreasing. And about 10 years ago, 1 million unit of the house is built, and mostly that is wooden houses. And now is 800,000 unit, and becoming 10 years later, becoming a 600 years unit of the houses. And also, on the other hand, forest is we are the planted of the lot of the tree, but is a shrinking of the demand. So that is a problem of the usage on demand, decreasing demand. But now in Japan, most of the building is a concrete and steel. And then that is if this 350 plan used as we are our company itself, 8,000 unit we are the building a year. This 350 plan, if succeed, that will be same volume of the wood of the demand make it. That is a help for the forest, and the Japanese forest is now is planted tree is a harvest of that year. And but the tall building necessary in a building code in Japan is wood is a very not strong enough for that. So we have to technology should be forest technology of the we are the, now trying to for strength in wood itself, and technology of the product is the engineering high performance of the engineering wood, and also that is a life for the life technology of the we are that now studying as a quantify the affinity among wood and greenery and the people like that. So we are the help to the forest and also for the human life on the Japan. Not only Japan, we are the planning, but also in the Europe, we can use of the species of the Europe. And that is a carbon print or something that is a help for that, I believe. So we are the milestone is making it of the this year is only just a small building, but a lot of the technique put in, and year by year we are the planning taller and high technique. That is one of the the innovation of the those things. Mm-hmm. Okay. And on.
Well, thank you very much. Mr. Garrel, you told us about reducing energy consumption. Could you give us more detail about this? Because the economies of energy is also very important during the exploitation of buildings.
Sure. I'm showing here a picture of a modern city. You see buildings with oak-glazed facades, and those buildings during the hot weather times tend to get very hot. A lot of progress has been made in the glass properties, in the ability to let the light come in and block the heat. Nonetheless, the use of air conditioning is absolutely necessary, essential, and growing across the world in buildings such as these ones. So every summer, you see in the newspapers articles talking about the air conditioning consumption, explaining that this is absolutely soaring, and that there is a vicious circle, because those air conditioning units, they reject hot air, and that hot air increases the temperatures in cities as much as 2% in certain times. So the more we air condition the building, the more we make the climate change worse, because we increase the temperature in the city, and those air conditioning units consume electricity, and the production of that electricity has emitted a lot of CO2. So this is really a vicious circle. And it's been assessed that by 2050, the consumption of air conditioning units across the world will be as big as the energy consumption of China as a whole, for all its purposes. So this is a gigantic problem. As I said, what we have invented is a glass that tints itself. So when there is too much heat, too much sun, the glass will tint like sunglasses and will keep the building cool. It is as simple as that, and this is what you can see here. And as a result, we can reduce the energy consumption in building in a dramatic manner. This picture here is an example of a shop for sport goods in the US, well-known brands called Shields. And all the skylights you can see here are made of sage glass, our smart tintable glass. So the glass has the ability to tint itself when there is too much sun in order to block the heat. And our client, Shields, have measured over 1 year the benefits of sage glass by comparing the energy consumption of a shop without sage glass and a shop with sage glass. What you can see here is the energy consumption in kilowatt hour month by month. And you can see that for the standard glass, the energy consumption is going up during the hot months, April through September, due to air conditioning demand. And what you can see here below is the energy consumption of the shop, which has been equipped with sage glass. And you see a very stable energy consumption, simply because during summertime, sage glass blocks the heat outside of the building. So this is 75% of energy consumption reduction, 75% by year, and not by simulation or computation, but just by measurement and comparing two actual shops of this client. Similarly, this is why we've been chosen to equip Mohammed bin Rashid Library in Dubai. You can imagine in the harsh climate of Dubai, with a building with a lot of glass like this, how challenging it is to keep it cool. And our solution has been chosen and has allowed to reach STDAMA Gold standard, which is the environmental label for buildings in the United Arab Emirates. So sage glass allows, in a proven way, to reduce in a big way the energy consumption in buildings.
Okay, thank you. It's very interesting. So we have a lot of possibility to reduce carbon or to make economy of energy with each materials. But I think also we have a lot of possibility to breed in the structure with all these materials. So what are the possibilities of combinations you could think about for the structure of buildings, or for aesthetic, for comfort, or to use renewable resources? What are the example you could maybe Mr. Nozi, you talk in your innovations of the Plan W350 of the mixity of materials. You used you didn't use only wood, I think.
No. That is not only wood, but also we have a necessary 10% of the steel of the ratio. And the glasses, I don't know, but I will realize of such kind of the good glasses as the latest of the glasses. That is a combination is necessary for our building also. Wood is limited of that, but recovered by the balance and the steel and glasses or other building materials. We are not keen for such kind of today. I know that is just glass is such kind of the high quality and that. So we are the necessary of such kind of the data or latest model or steel also. That is I was surprised about that. Very interested in, and the wood itself, that is fix of the CO2, and when the younger time they absorb the CO2. But that is still under combination, so that we can more higher building will be, we can plan it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. And well, with glass, obviously, Mr. Gary, we have no doubt that glass is necessary in a building. Could you add anything to our ideas here about mixity of materials?
Sure. The efficiency of the buildings and the performance of buildings never comes with a single solution, and I think the complementarity of those solutions is very important. As an example, what is more and more taken into account is the CO2 content of the building over its whole lifetime. So taking into account the CO2 embedded into the materials that are used to make the building, and also the CO2 emissions during the lifetime of the building until it's being dismantled and recycled. That's why our solution is often chosen in conjunction with very innovative building techniques. We have equipped, for instance, a wooden structure building in near Paris, in La Défense, which is the headquarters of the French Agency for Intellectual Property, INPI. This was a renovation, and such glass has been perfectly fitted within this wooden building, and the glass was installed in wooden frames. Similarly, our solution goes very well with photovoltaics production on buildings. And what's really important to achieve a very durable building is to design the building with those solutions at the very early stage, so that you can beneficiate fully from the positive impact of those technologies. Just as an example, if you want to use sedge glass in a building, it's very important to design the building with sedge glass so that you can take into account the reduction in the heating, cooling, and lighting equipments inside the building. And that's how you harvest the benefits of sedge glass. And investors have understood that, I think, pretty well now. They get involved more and more in the design of the building. They don't only defer to the architect to design the building. They want to understand how the overall design of the building is going to make a great building for them, not just a good looking building, which they obviously want, but also a building that is efficient and comfortable to live in. So we are more and more in touch with investors, talking to investors, because they want to understand the technology. They want to understand what our innovations can bring to the building, and they want to make sure that they associate the various technologies together well, so that they get the best out of them.
Okay. Well, thank you. Your remarks were most interesting. Mr. Salens, could you give us example of realization with a mixity of materials, including steel, to make maybe higher buildings or more efficient?
Sure. First of all, I think that we can say steel is a very particular material, as it is so easily to be formed and shaped. So that allows steel to be used as, I would say, the perfect material to combine with other other materials, like with wood and with glass. I would say one good example that I can think of in the combination of steel with other products is our Indaten product, which is a weather-resistant steel with a nice orange patina that for aesthetical reasons is perfectly in combination with wood, but also with glass. It's a very nice, and we have many examples of this already installed across Europe, of the combination of Indaten and wood. But also other materials. I'm also thinking about a combination of concrete and steel that is well known already, but we are also going further in this and innovate more in this. And a good example there is the composite floors with lower thickness that were developed that are thinner than conventional concrete floors. And in fact, these solutions have allowed to gain approximately one floor in a multi-story building, to gain approximately one floor every 7 floors. So you can see that also these innovations in combination with other materials can help to build more efficiently. Yeah. So another example you could take is our insulated panels, where you combine a steel skin with an isolating wool or a foam to allow buildings to be better isolated. It was already mentioned by Olivier Garay, and thus to consume less energy for heating or cooling. So this is easy to install and also easy to recycle. It's another aspect that I want to highlight about steel. Steel is very easy to recycle, thanks also due to its magnetic properties, and it can also be 100% recycled over and over again. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Your remarks were most interesting. To conclude with this panel, I would like just to know about your thoughts about big cities and now what according to you, what are the aspects, the important aspects of your innovation that could be able to answer to the new needs of bigger cities and more compact cities. Maybe Mr. Nosy. Is Mr. Nosy
yeah, this environmentally is a friendly and timber utilizing city. We are the target, and also with a sustainable forest and the management and changing cities into forest by utilizing the renewable wood. And of course, that is a combination with steel and glasses. That is, of course, we need it. And the city itself make it of the wooden forestry of the like a city of the such kind of the wooden forest of the city. I would like to change for the 2041 is a target of the that's our not dream. I believe it is possible. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gallo, we don't have much time, but what are your thoughts about big cities? What could you say about this?
Right. So it's true that there is a massive trend for urbanization through the world. Maybe this will also be changed by the pandemic and various aspects. We see a lot of people also wanting to live in a more natural context. What we are trying to do at our level is to offer the connection between the indoor and the outdoor. This is what those sunglasses for buildings are doing. They are an alternative to the blinds, to the curtains that block the view and put you inside a room with no connection to the outside. So what we're trying to do is to foster the connection to nature, which is important everywhere, especially in big cities, in order to keep people just happy with their life. And now that people tend to spend maybe less time in the offices, will work more from home, it is absolutely vital that spaces like offices, for instance, are made very productive. When people go to the office, this is to feel good, this is to interact, to be innovative, to interact with others. And it's proven that the connection to nature, to the outside, is a key element in that equation.
Yes, very interesting. Thank you. And Mr. Salens, in very few words, would you like to share your thoughts on this question?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I think we can say that building with steel can represent 50% of construction time reduction. I think if you speak about bigger cities, more crowded cities, this is a very important element. Yeah. So furthermore, I have already given multiple examples how with our steel solutions we can create higher buildings. We can add a floor or one floor every 7 floors by the use of our innovations. I would say simply that again, I have spoken about innovation is about lighter, stronger, and longer. I would add now also greener to this. And that is the vision that we have for our future innovations, to add this element even more prominently than it is already added today.
Okay. Well, so thank you very much. I think that brings us to the end of this very interesting and comprehensive meeting. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.